Ashton asked if we were doing our homework on the Chromebook today, and I said, no, not today. After that.
Alright, so, some of what you're doing today is going to look, sound very familiar. Short weekend, Jamie? Short? So short. We got all those like 4-day weekends, like we got out for Good Friday. Well, I mean, well, it's always bad when you come right after spring break, so that week after spring break is horrible. I thought that was now, when is it, some of you gonna be on Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday, okay. Ooh, Wednesday, are we about to have you today? Alright, so statistical measures. The ones that you should know already. Mean, median, and mode. So what's another word for the mean? Average. The mean is the average. And this time we're getting a little bit more in depth in what it means, but they're going to use a measure called, or not a measure, a symbol, and you'll hear me say X bar. There's an X and a bar over it. X bar. And that's what it is, what's meant by the mean. Alright, what's the median? Middle number. So it's the middle number of the data set, and before you find the median, what do you have to do? You gotta put them in order. So remember, you put them in order, put in order first. Put in order, then find the middle number. Alright, and the mode. The most common, the number that occurs the most. The number that occurs the most. And there can be more than one mode. And in Jackson, here's the one you're talking about, the range, which is the high number minus the low number. They also call this the spread, how far apart the numbers are. The spread of the data set, how far apart they are. So all of those things you've done, gosh, for a long, long time now. Now, they're going to call, I'm not going to the next page. They're going to call these three right here, mean, median, and mode. These are called measures of central tendency. Meaning these things, these are measures that help you, that help to compare data. See, that's what's been bothering me is my sinuses. They're killing me. My nose will be stopped up. Yeah. And my eyes start itching, or that's what's up. Yeah. Like when I lay down or I'm sleeping, like I'll lay on my left side and this side my nose will stop up and I'll turn over and this side will stop. Oh, I hate that. some of the questions, they're gonna say, instead of saying find the mean, median, or mode, or which would you rather use the mean, median, or mode, the question's gonna say something like, which measure of central tendency would you use when you find these data sets? Calculators. There is a way on your calculators to do the mean and the median for you. So go to your calculator. Very important. Make it a lot easier for you. I'll leave these here. I'll just use these numbers up here. 32, 41, 35, 35, 26, 42. Alright, there are those numbers here. So you have those numbers. I'll go back to the calculator. So 32, 41, 35, 35, 46. We have 6 numbers in there. And we're going to find the mean, median, mode. So the one thing the calculator won't do for you is to find the mode. But what number occurs the most there? 35. So that one's simple. 35 occurs the most. Now, here's what we're going to do with the calculator. You're going to go to Stat. And we first have to put the numbers in. So you're going to go to Edit, so Stat, Edit. If you have something in here, instead of hitting Delete over and over and over, use your arrows and go up to where the L1 or L2 is highlighted. Do not hit Delete right here, where it will delete the whole list. Hit Clear, and then Enter. And it will clear the whole list for you. Do not hit Delete, because it takes the L1 or L2 or whatever label you've got up there. So if you highlight the L1, hit Clear and Enter, it will clear the list. Alright, now we're going to put our numbers in L1. So just type in those numbers, making sure you hit Enter each time. Thank you. And a way you can check, especially if you do a lot of numbers, I knew I had 6 numbers in there. Well, I'm on my 7th row here, so I know I put 6 numbers in. But it's especially important when you go back to this top number. If I put 42 in there and I don't hit Enter, it will not put it in the list. You got to make sure you hit Enter on that very last one. Okay? Everybody got it in? Alright, now, you're going to go back and you're going to calculate. You're going to go back to Stat. This time you're going to go over to Calculate, and we're doing one variable statistic. So we just got one list here. So you're going to hit number 1, and it's going to come up and it's asking you, okay, did you put your numbers in L1? That's important, whatever those numbers are, which you should have. Don't worry about the frequency list. We're just going to go to Calculate, and it'll come up something like this. And we'll see what it's on each one, not each one, the ones that you need to know. And you should have numbers like that. If you don't, then one of your numbers. Does everybody have these numbers? I went to stat, and I hit calculate, and hit number 1, and then you enter. Okay, so let's go back and check Swift again. I may have put a number in wrong, who knows? So 32, 41, 35, 35, 46, 42. Instead of which one? Oh, did I write 44 on here? That's a 41. It doesn't matter. If y'all put 44, I'll change mine. I put 41, so that's what that one is 41. So we just need to decide. Is it 44 or 41? Okay, so 41. Right, so if you didn't put 41, right here, go back and fix 41. So you gotta put your numbers in the stat. So you're gonna go stat, edit, to put the numbers in, and then stat, count, one variable. Do that. So you put the numbers in, stat, edit, and then go back to stat, count, and number 1, and just make sure that wherever you put your numbers, you've got them in that list. And then that'll come up. Is that what y'all got? Okay, now remember I said X bar. So right here is your mean, is your average, 38.5. Okay, so the mean, 38.5. Now, the median we could find, but if you arrow on down, notice here that's the number of things you put in. Remember the box and whisker plots that they used to do? You actually had to do them when they started in like 7th grade. Remember the box and whisker plot? And you had, this was the minimum, and then you had the lower quartile. This was Q2, but this was also the median. That was Q3, and this was the maximum. They had all that. So that's where a lot of these numbers are coming from. Like you've got your minimum, they're telling you it's 32. If you arrow on down, you'll find there's Q1. Here's your median. There's your other number you need. So 38 is your median. Q3, and then the maximum. Use my down arrow. Go down, go like that. So if it's got that arrow down there, that means there's more stuff. Well, there's a lot more stuff on here we're getting ready to talk about, but it gives you there's your mean, there's your average. Then if you go down, it'll give you your median, so there's your median. So the only one it won't give you is your mode, which is pretty easy.
38 when there's no 38 you have to look at that.
Okay, well, let's see that then.
Alright,
Alright, if you put these numbers, remember to do the median, you gotta put them in order. So if we put them in order, there's 32, 35, 35, 41, 42, and 46. Well, when you do the median, you count in. The middle is right there. So what happens when the middle's in between two numbers? You add those up and divide by 2. The median 38. Okay. These, no, you don't have to put them in order, you can put them in just like that. Which is why it makes it a whole lot easier. Right, plus if I come to add all those up. Okay, now, here is the type of problems they're going to ask you. The type of problems they're going to ask you. They're going to say, okay, now here's a perfect example. Use the table below that says the profit in billions of dollars reported by U.S. manufacturers for the first quarter of the year from 1997 to 2001. Alright, so you can give you this chart. Say, okay, here's the year. billions of dollars would be right. So 61.4. 65.2. Alright, so there's the profit by U.S. manufacturers, all the companies in the United States for the first quarter. The first quarter is from January to March, if that doesn't matter. Alright, so number 1 on this one says find the mean and median of the data to the nearest tenth. So put all of these in, find the mean and median. So use your calculator, put all these in and find the mean and median. Why did they not ask for the mode? There's no mode. Okay, put those in your calculator and find the mean and median. Alice, put those in your calculator, find the mean and median. Yeah, if everybody gets to do it now. That's out. Did you write it down? That's out. Edit. Well, you gotta put the numbers in first. You gotta do stat edit and put the numbers in. Then you gotta do stat calc 1. Let some people figure out beside you. You can type in numbers, really. Just go with them, just look at it. Just stat and edit and type in the numbers and then stat 2. Are you getting it? Okay. Okay, so you always want to check your answers or what you plug in there because the calculator is going to calculate whatever numbers you put in there. It's not going to say, hey, you put the wrong number because it doesn't know what numbers you're supposed to be putting in. So there's what I got. So my median, it said to the nearest tenth, so 1 decimal. So the median would be 64.3 billion. And the median is 61.4 billion. So 64.3 billion, and you've got to write the billion on there. It's a big difference between $64.30 and $61 billion. And that's just the first part, the mean and the median. Now, the second part, they're going to say which measure of simple pieces best represents the data. You should have done some of this in Math 1. I talked about this. So here's what the not the answer, but the problem's gonna look like.
Which measure of central tendency best represents the data?
So just looking at those numbers, the set of data you have here, and sometimes it helps to put them in order and look at them. So if you did that, you have 45.3, 60.9, 61.4. So which one do you think is closest to the total representation of the data? Why the mean? Okay, it is an average of all the data. Anybody say the median? Alright, think about it this way. If I said, okay, I'm going to let me ask you this. Does this number right here, is it representative of all the other numbers, or is it further away from all of them? It's further away from all of them. And these are in the 60s and 70s, and all of a sudden you've got something that's 15.4. You may know what that's called? Outlier? It's an outlier. So, not a major outlier, but it is kind of far away from the data. So, again, thinking about what Joseph said, the mean takes into account all of them. The median is just that middle number, so we can still switch to say the mean, Joseph. Knowing that there's an outlier that skews the data, if you still stay with the mean, saying it's a better representation than the mean. The mean is truer than the mean. So now you say the median. And now you say the mean still. Think about it this way. If I give you if those were test scores, and I average those test scores, is that 0 going to affect the average? Yes. Okay? So the 0 you know is going to affect the average. If I do the median of these numbers, if I put them in order, is the median more representative of that total data set than the mean? Yes, because this outlier brings that average down, right? So when you have an outlier, such as this one right here, the outlier affects the mean. If it's affects or effects. Anybody know? I don't know. Effects means what? Okay, so effects. What's affect mean? I don't know. Well, but they're still all intertwined. It doesn't matter.
Just like so far, continuing versions of class usually use
Okay, anyway. I said, all right, I'm gonna take the class average, or I'm gonna take the median, which would you want me to take? You would want me to take the median. Well, that would be if, like if I wanted to send my grade to Mr. Shields, and I wanna say, hey, Mr. Shields, my class average is whatever this one is, let's see, 4, that's 185, 385. Okay, so if I do the mean of this data set, the mean is 77, but the median is 95. So if I want Mr. Shields to think I'm this awesome teacher, which one do I want to give him, the mean or the median? The median. All right, if you go home and you want to tell your parents, here's why I made a 0, because she's a crappy teacher. The class average was would you rather use the mean or the median? The mean. So this one is lower.
So it depends on whether it's an outlier.
Well, it depends on if there's an outlier, and it depends on what the question is asking. If I were a businessman and I was trying to get, maybe there's this country, some country or some business in France, and I want to get them to come to the United States, then I want to say, hey, your average profit is going to be 64.3 billion. But if another country, say Canada, wants them to come to them instead of us, they're going to say, no, come to us. Their median is only 61.4 billion. Depends on how you ask the question. Does that help a little bit? Do what? Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily because there's an outlier, you want to use the median. It depends on how they ask the question and what they say. Now, let's do another one. All right. Well, here's the school one. Okay, so this one says the percent of fourth grade students reading at or above proficiency. Alright, so 1992, 1994. So there's 4 years worth of data. And they're each 4 years, well, no, actually they're not 4 years apart. Anyway, that part doesn't matter. So, in 1992, 29% of fourth graders read at or above proficiency. 94, 30% of them. 98, 31, and in 2000, 32%. So we're going to put those four numbers in. 29, 30, 31, 32. And do those statistics. Alright, so I've got, y'all let me know if you got the same thing. Okay, so I've got a mean of 30.5 and a median of 30.5. So those the same thing? Mean 30.5, median 30.5. Okay, so the mean and the median are both 30.5%. So would it matter which one you use? It doesn't really matter which one you use. Now, we're going to bring in one more variable. Next variable or next measure. Hey. I got them on. Actually, this you could actually go in there and look at that. I'll print them out. you just, I don't know if I need to, I'm gonna send out a list of easy ones. So the next measure, we talked about mean, median, mode, measuring special tendency. Now the next one we're going to talk about is, let's see, standard deviation. On your math one test? You should have heard it last year. That's an O. Standard deviation. Does anybody know what it means then? I'm guessing not. The deviation from the standard, yes. What would the standard be? Which one of those do you think the standard would be? The mean. This is technically, in layman's terms, how far away on average, how far away on average each score, each score is from the mean. It's not difficult to do without the calculator, but it is time consuming. I'm not going to make you do all of that. I'm going to show you where that button is. You got that? Okay, so on the calculator, that's what we just put in. Standard deviation is right here. This symbol is standard deviation. It's saying the standard deviation of your X data set is, we'll just go to one decimal, 1.1. And what that means, so if the standard deviation is 1.1, that means on average, any of these numbers are going to be 1.1 away from the mean. So the mean is here, 30.5. So if I add 1.1 to that, it puts me at 31.6. If I subtract 1.1, it puts me below this, or right at it. But the standard deviation is, and it'll make a little bit more sense when we start doing the normal curve tomorrow. But just remember, standard deviation is how far away you are from the average. So if I were looking at the standard deviation of these numbers, these are really close together, aren't they? 100, 195, and 90. That standard deviation on that zero is definitely not close to any of my numbers. So let's see. That's about it. The hardest part is deciding if you use the mean or the median or the hardest part is just describing which one you're going to use and why. That's the hardest part.
When it comes to that, would you give us an example of why we're taking them?
When you read it,
Like if we put up the parent company, the parents and all that.
well, it'll give you the, like it's not, it'll say, so here's the one work on your homework. We'll look at your practice workbook. No way I'll have to read it. Just look at your practice workbook. 12-6 is where we are. I know I skipped 12-5. We're going to come back to it tomorrow. It is a little bit more difficult, and I didn't want to start out with that on Monday. So go to 12-6 in work. Video. And then we'll just go through and talk about those, and then you can, decide based on the numbers. Alright, so look at number 7. It says 8 physicians with 15 patients on a hospital floor see these patients on average of 18 minutes a day. The 22 nurses on the same floor see the patients an average of 3 hours a day. And it makes sense. Nurses see patients more than doctors. Anybody ever been in the hospital, doctors are going to be in and out, unless they're having surgery or something. Nurses are there all day long. Okay, as a hospital administrator, would you quote the mean, median, or mode as an indicator of the amount of daily medical attention the patients on this floor receive? Well, you're not looking for nurses or physicians. You're kind of taking those together. So if I were a hospital administrator and I could do this 2 ways. You want the patient to get the maximum out, correct? The largest amount of time. Okay? So, which one do you think would be the biggest? You're going to have to figure this one out. Because you've got 8 patients, 8 physicians with 15 patients. So that means, oops, how did I do that? You've got 8. I'm going to put 8 doctors, 15 patients, and they see them 18 minutes a day. 22 nurses, same number of patients, and they see them 3 hours a day. Well, if this one's in minutes, this one also has to be in minutes. So 3 hours in minutes is what? 180, 3 times 6. This one's 180 minutes. Alright, so if I've got 18 minutes, 15 times, 180, 15 times. So that means my data set would be 18, 18, 18, all the way out 15 times. And I'd have 180 all the way out 15 times. So how many things could I have in that data set? If I have 15 here and 15 here, I'm going to have 30 things. So when you're doing the mean and median and mode, you have to put in 15, 18, and 15, 180. But you want the one that's going to be the highest, wouldn't it? If you want people, like if I'm deciding I'm going to take my, whatever, I'm going to take my kid to the hospital, I want to take them to the one that has the most amount of time being seen. Well, you could, but then how are you going to get the standard deviation and everything like you don't know how to do it like that? Right. Alright, 8, 9, and 10. So that one shows the percent of public school teachers, Alex, sit up or go down. So the percent of public school teachers in the U.S. and that's, sit up, please. Weren't here 2 days last week. The percent of public school teachers in the U.S. in 1999 who used computers or the internet at school for various administrative and teaching activities. You see all different things in it. Creating instruction materials, administrative, communicate with their other teachers, all things they do. So you're going to find the mean, median, and mode. And if it's supposed to believe teachers use computers or the internet too infrequently. So if you're a parent, maybe you want them to use them more. If you're a principal, you want them to use them more. Which measure would you quote as the average? You're going to, do you want the highest or do you want the lowest number? You want the lowest number. So what do you do? What? Well, you have to put which one and why. And you've got to find the mean, median, and mode on that one. If you use it too often, or you think they use it too often, which one would you want to choose? No, you're not choosing those numbers. Between the mean, median, and mode is what I'm saying. You want to choose the lowest or the highest. The highest, whichever one it is. So that's what you're going to choose on those. on the top part, we don't need to do all of those. And we're not worrying about variance, so it says find the variance and standard deviation, so on the top part, all you're doing is standard deviation. And then you've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're gonna do, let's just do 1 and 3 on the top part. And then 7 through 12. You got 1 and 3 on the top part, all you're finding is the standard deviation. And then you're doing 7